Listeners, no. Eric, why don't you?
What should I say? Welcome to part 2 of the Nobody Drives in LA Ask Us Anything
Extravaganza. We're going to pick up from wherever I decided to end part 1. Here we go. Kiwi Crusher, what's your opinion of expanding trains to SGV or Pomona?
Or Pomona Valley specifically. Do you know about that? Do you have any thoughts about that?
I don't. Tell me, Eric. I know nothing.
Okay, so this is another one where I was like, which one are they talking about? Okay, because there's the A-line extension from Azusa to Montclair that goes through Glendora, San Dimas, Laverne, Pomona, and Claremont. That will be really cool. It doesn't go right by Rubel Castle, but Rubel Castle's kind of what it sounds like a castle, like a folk art castle that I'd like to check out. Do you know the Donut Man? The Donut Man's on that route. The Donut Man is a famous Japanese donut man who specializes in seasonal donuts. So half the year it's strawberry donuts and half the year it's peach donuts. I forgot there's actually a donut man in Grand Central Market now if you want to check out Donut Man. But Glendora has like there's something hard to put your finger on about. Like there's a charm to Glendora. It has on one side you've got the San Gabriel Mountains, but then there's this tiny range of hills that are tiny, but they're kind of abrupt and they come out of nowhere called the South Hills, and that create this little valley, and it just creates this kind of interesting charm in Glendora. And then San Dimas has this, that's where Wild Stallion are from.
Bill
and Ted fan.
Oh yeah.
But San Dimas is I think they redid it, unfortunately. It used to have this kitschy, like wooden sidewalks. It was almost like this Disneyfied downtown. Like, look, it's an old West town. But I think they might have gotten rid of that because they were like, that's not part of our real history, which I always say, like, who cares? Like, the kitsch is part of your real history. Keep the kitsch.
Keep the kitsch. That's our new tagline.
Old Town Laverne, I hear, is very charming. I've not spent very much time there, or any, really. Claremont Village, though, is a great and very walkable neighborhood that train line will go through. The California Botanic Gardens within walking distance of that. But that's happening. So I'm excited about that. There's expanding trains to SGV or Pomona Valley. Because right now there's the Metrolink San Bernardino line that has about 5 stops in those. And the Riverside line doesn't really have as many stops. And then, but I thought they might have been talking about, so Metro was at one point considering having the East Side extension from the border of East Los Angeles and Monterey Park, where it stops now. They were talking about having it run along the 60, State Route 60, through Monterey Park, Montebello, Whittier Narrows, and to South El Monte. I think they have said maybe they'll do that in the future, but it would be a freeway running train line and most people are understandably not super into those. So that's why they went with the alternative that they're going to extend that train route down to Whittier. So that and then it kind of runs parallel to Metrolink, the A-line extension. But yeah, I think that'll be nice to be able to get out there, I know other people are like more on top of like ridership projections and stuff like that. I don't personally care. I don't care if no one's taking the train but me, honestly. It's not like they're going to get rid of it because not enough people are on it once it's there. And I just feel like that's not really the reason we create government agencies, to be super profitable anyway, because
that's a dangerous statement these days.
Because we don't talk about they talk about, Metro loses this much money per year in fare evasions. They never talk about the police department loses this much money a year because we give them $3.37 billion a year. We don't talk about the fire department losing money because they're not, we don't make people pay a fare to every time they call 911 or pay a fare to have a fire department respond, and they shouldn't, because that's not why we create government agencies. We create them to make things for us that we can't make for ourselves, like train lines, even ones with low ridership. But I don't even know. Maybe that one is projected to have high ridership. I don't know.
And think about advertising. I 1,000,000% chose my neighborhood because it was transit accessible. Like, I would not have moved to LA and to the part of LA that I did if I if it wasn't right next to a big old train line. Worldwide Dave.
I love that name.
Interview people who are happy not driving. Discuss health benefits, New Year's fitness goals, time saved, quality of life, promote positive aspects to get more people to try it. All right, let's talk fitness goals, because this is something I'm very, very, very passionate about, fitness. Recently, because of this whole, to talk about how unhappy cars make me. When my car died, I had to make the painful decision to pause my CrossFit membership, because that money that I was putting on a gym membership, I would need to have for a barfy car payment. And as such, I've been looking at different ways to fill in my cardio, which has been biking around more. And I find that as I bike more, or as I did yesterday when going to a stupid car dealership who didn't tell me the car sold at the last moment and tried to upsell me on something else. And I'm like, bro, I know what I want. You don't have it. I'm leaving. Bye.
What is the biggest car you have?
Yeah.
What's the heaviest? That's all I care about.
Yeah. Could I put a cannon on top of it? And I biked from Santa Monica to Culver City and got lost multiple times along the way. And oh boy, are my legs and hips sore today. I find that when I'm biking more, my bike muscles adapt to biking regularly very fast. But when I don't bike, they also atrophy very fast.
Yeah.
Like I spent 2 weeks in Pennsylvania doing video work and then like a family visit. And when I got back, the first time I biked, it was just like starting all over again. Like I'm cramping uphill, blah, 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 blah. But yeah, like in terms of New Year's fitness goals, my New Year's fitness goal for this year is I would like to be in shape to do the mixed race by the end of the year.
Okay.
So far, the farthest I've done is critical mass and then getting lost in like between Beverly Hills and Mar Vista that way. So
on critical mass? You got lost?
So we took critical mass from K-Town to Beverly Hills.
Oh, right.
Then we branched off to go get a coffee, then go to a cocktail bar, then got lost trying to get back to the Westwood Rancho Park station where my buddy and I were going to branch off.
Because how many people ride in a critical mass ride usually?
I think they were saying in the summer it's like 3,000 to 5,000.
Wow.
This was a small one and we had over 1,000.
Wow. Okay.
We're recording this on a Thursday, the 30th. I believe there's one tomorrow on the 31st. That's not going to help listeners today, but it's the last Friday of every month.
There's also, and there's on this also, speaking of things that won't help people listening, on the 2nd of February, I saw that a bicycle shop, I think they're called La Esquina, is doing a bike ride down along the LA River path from just south of downtown to Long Beach. And I was like, that sounds like fun, because I've not ridden that stretch.
Nice.
I won't be going, and if you're hearing this and you didn't go, it's too late. But I'll say it's funny because, I mean, no shame, but I don't know if Worldwide Dave has listened to that many episodes, because I feel like everyone loves not driving that's been on the show except me. Well, I love not driving. I love driving though too. But I also think that if you love driving, that what we do in Los Angeles does not make sense to someone that loves driving. It's like saying, I love boating, I'm going to get a floaty and put it, or like I'm going to get a raft and put it in a swimming pool and sit there. Like that's not driving. Right. Driving is renting a car for me and driving to Vancouver along the Pacific coast. Yeah. That's beautiful. Going to the Eagle Rock Plaza and waiting for a parking spot to open up that's not fun. If you really like driving, you don't want to do it in a city.
I had an interesting experience the other night. I went to a concert with my friend. He had an open ticket, invited me out. The concert was at the Novo in downtown. Like, hey, great, let's be train bros. And I have a pretty good success rate getting this friend to go on the Metro, because whenever he wants to do something, I will throw out to Alex, hey, want to be train bros? Usually he's cool about it. This time he was like, oh, it's kind of cold out and I don't want to have to take my coat into the concert. I don't know if there's a coat check. Well, let's just drive. And then when we got
So the car is the coat check.
Yeah, the car
We
is
have to drive because where else are we going to put our coats?
Yeah.
But in a 3-ton SUV.
So the car was the coat check, and it was this funny experience when we went downtown. Was we were going to take the train into Little Tokyo, get some noodles, then train back to the Novo. And when we got into Little Tokyo, it was about 20 minutes, trying to find a parking space. Then when we went into a public parking structure, it was totally clogged up on the way out and near full. So we almost didn't get a spot. Then when we did get a spot, it was just because someone was leaving and going to sit in the probably like 30-minute line to just exit the parking garage. That's not something that people tell you about taking transit when you have to park in a city, that you're probably going to spend another, 15, 20 minutes at least.
It is, and it's
finding a
also one of
parking
the
space.
biggest expenses. When AAA says that it costs $13,000 a year to own a car in Los Angeles, one of the things that they think like, well, my car payments are this much, my gas is this much, insurance is this much, repairs are this much, maintenance is this much. It still doesn't add up to that's not over $1,000 a month. But then you go to places where it's like $45 to park your car,
right?
Or parking tickets because you parked your car and they actually ticketed you for once.
Oh, I got so many of those when I first moved out here. Street sweeping day.
And then the joy of just sitting waiting for a parking spot to open up.
We also though had a funny realization though on this trip on our ride home that Alex and I, comically enough, have driven almost the exact same number of miles in the time that we've been in LA. He got his car in 2018 and shortly after started working from home. So he drives when he's going out, going on dates, going to concerts. For me, I only drive when I'm going to work on commercial productions. The rest of my time, whenever I go out, like my social life is all on transit. My fitness life, my education is all on transit. And I also do some work from home work as well. So in the same span from 2018 to now, we have both driven about 30,000 miles, which I think is kind of hilarious. And then we have and Alex is far less of a transit guy than I am, which is just, I don't know.
Maybe instead of having a fossil fuel burning coat check on wheels, and I would say leave the coat at home and then have just have a little winter warmer before you go, a little hot toddy, so that you're toasty on the train without your coat. And then you get to Little Tokyo, you have some ramen, some spicy ramen, some sake, head back home on the train. You won't notice that you're cold.
There's a phrase that I've been using that I learned it from my friend Dana, who grew up in East Germany. And that is, when it's cold outside and you don't want to go cycling, or someone doesn't want to go cycling or doesn't want to walk with you, you'll tell them, we are not made out of sugar, or if it's snowing or raining or whatever.
Yeah.
So
these are fitness goals.
Yeah. So I told that to Alex, sir, we are not made out of sugar. When I was visiting my folks in PA too, there was a blizzard, right? And I wanted to. This is the town where I grew up in. I wanted to walk from my grandfather's house to my mom's house. It's about a mile, give or take a verse, in the snow. I used to do this all the time when I was a kid. It's the only time it's safe to walk in this small town because there's no cars on the road because it's covered in snow. And my grandmother was just she was panicking. She was like, oh, have your grandfather drive you. You're not going to be safe out there. It's cold. I'm like, Grandma, we are not made out of sugar. And so I went, and it was delightful.
I will say that going to shows, that is like an eternal thing that you ask yourself, how hot's it going to be inside? How do I dress for this? But that's what sweaters are for. Yeah. I don't know. You can roll up your sleeves, get a little warm at the show. It's okay. I don't know. It's not worth owning a car just so you can be comfortable at shows and in transit in the same outfit.
Yeah. All things considered, I think Alex is doing quite well being car minimal, despite being someone who likes driving, Anyway, Alex, I have to fix your bike chain. I have a link to repair it, and I just have to get over to slap it on your bike chain. So listeners, you can hold me accountable to fixing my friend's bike chain.
The next question, is that the end
That's
of
it for
Reddit
Reddit
ones? Okay. So I have from Viha, who Got to mention, she's the one that started the Octavia Lab and the Koreatown Media Lab where we are recording.
Oh, hey.
So shout out to V.
Thank you, V.
I think she wrote on Blue Sky and said, I hardly qualify as guest, even as a cyclist. I live in one of the most unwalkable, transit-unfriendly areas of the city. Here's my thought. Climate change policy won't be at the federal level and is best tackled by states and cities. So how do we make sprawl unattractive and build Wakanda?
I would offer what I am doing is showing up to city council meetings and participating in local biking, local walking events. The cycling group that rides in Santa Monica, they go to city council meetings. They put up bulletins day of, hey, here's what's going on. Here's what to comment on. So whenever I can, I know I'm going to be in for a good, late night at city council. I go and I make my voice heard because the NIMBYs will be heard regardless.
They yell. They're not afraid to throw tantrums.
Right. So we got to show up and we got to make it heard.
Well, I have kind of a similar answer. I was just going to say, get involved locally and check out groups like Los Angeles Walks, Los Angeles County Bicycle Coalition, Streets for All, Streets Blog. You can get involved with any of those organizations. You can engage with the community by going on group rides and to open streets events. You can subscribe to podcasts like ours and Bike Talk and SGV Connect, Walking About, Transiting LA, and their national podcasts. Strong Towns and War on Cars, I think, are both entertaining and have lots of relevant information for all people, regardless of where they are. Even though those two podcasts might be on sometimes opposite approaches, contentiousness between them a little bit, but I think that there's room for everybody. I would say vote in every election, especially your state and local elections, because that's where stuff is going to happen, not at the federal level. That's just what the news is obsessed with. Yeah. Look for endorsements from transit and mobility organizations when you're figuring out who to vote for. And you can also join your neighborhood council's transportation and mobility committee, either as a stakeholder or a co-chair, So there are lots of ways of getting involved. I made my own transit map. I know no one's going to follow my advice to do this because I'm like the map guy. But I made a map of all of the places that are within a 10-minute bike ride of my house, all the places that are within a 10-minute walk, because that's just about anyone is comfortable riding their bike for 10 minutes or less, or walking 10 minutes or less. And all of the single-seat bus routes from my place and all the places along the way, because it helps me visualize just how many places you can really get to without a car. And so this map has over 400 restaurants and stuff on it that I can get to: restaurants, theaters, music venues, bookstores, libraries, comedy venues, bars, all that I can get to without ever having to walk more than 10 minutes, ride my bike more than 10 minutes, or do a single transfer on a bus, So just doing that really, for me, and maybe for you, will help you see, wow, there's so much to do. I don't need to go to, maybe there's something you hear about in some very transit inaccessible place, but there's probably something just as good within a 10-minute walk of your house. Yeah. And you just have to think about it differently.
I would say that car dependence is very much... It's like a quick thinking panic mindset reaction in culture that...
How often do people just say, let's just drive? When you're trying to plan how to get somewhere, let's just drive.
I think about this too as as I was looking into buying a car and figuring out the rest of this stuff, that the whole system is designed to funnel you into making a snap decision to drop mad amounts of cash. And when you take transit, you need to take a step back, take a pause, take a breath, figure out where do you want to go, how are you going to get there, how are you going to do it? And you'll get there in probably a comparable amount of time as it takes to drive and find your parking space and do the rest of it. But you have so much more headspace, and it allows you to take a wider perspective, take a breath, slow down just a little bit. You're gonna get where you're going,
and you'll get home too. And even if you do take Uber or Lyft every once in a while, if you really do it just every once in a while, you're going to not be spending $13,000 a year that you are on car ownership.
Yeah, that's really like what's been just like a pit in my stomach is like, oh, I don't want to take out a $20,000 loan on a car that's like, oh yeah, well, that's just like I usually don't like sell cars that are like this low value or whatever. Like, hey, that's a lot of money for me, bro.
Well, there is like a shaming aspect when you go to get a car too, where they push you to kind of live outside of your means. Like, oh, you're going to be coming back and wishing you'd gotten this one that has more extras and
like,
leather
actually, no,
seats
I know
and all this stuff.
I know exactly what I want. Give me a good deal on what I want or I'm gone.
That reminds me of, when the last time I had car insurance, I remember because when I had my car, they asked me, back then it was like a phone conversation with a real person. This is how long it's been since I owned a car. And they were like, how many miles do you drive in an average day? And I was like, 0. And they were like, well, you have to say more than that. You have to say like between 6 and 12 or something. And I was like, but I don't. I mean, I haven't driven it in 7 months. That's 0. Like, why am I even getting insurance for this thing that I have to renew the registration of, even if I don't use?
Yeah. To circle back to my discussion about comparing mileage with my friend Alex, since the pandemic, really, I've not the pandemic, but since 2022, I've only driven about 3,000 miles each year, which I think is way less than Alex. So I think I'm actually coming out ahead in recent years, since I've started biking, transiting, one-wheeling more. Like, yeah. And that's it too. I don't want to spend $20,000 on something that I'm only going to use 3,000 miles on.
And this kind of leads me to another thought that I have is that I always just say, like, it's not like you have to be all or nothing with driving. But if you treat the car as the last option instead of the first one, if you think, God, it's really not practical to do this trip without a car, then that's when you use the car. Yeah. And then you try to use it less. And like I was thinking of in the vein of like meatless Mondays, you could have train Tuesdays or walking Wednesdays.
Oh, train Tuesdays. I love that.
Bus viernes in Spanish and Tagalog. Just to keep the alliteration going. But because I do think that, we do need systemic change, but also individual change. It's not like that doesn't need to be an either or either.
Yeah.
Because that's how you influence people. And I personally think that if you are, part of the mission of this show is to be honest about the trials and tribulations and pains and pleasures, because if you're honest about it, people will see, well, this person can do it and they're up and like, they're not Superman. Like, then I can probably do it. And they're not lying to me and saying it's great and perfect every time, or that you can do everything easily without a car. Yep. They're giving me the honest, feedback. And then maybe that influences your friends to say like, hey, if I'm going to somewhere that a bus goes to from my house to that place, and I don't want to circle around looking for parking and pay $45, maybe I do just take the bus. Yeah.
And for me, I want to go to a show and I want to have a couple 2, 3, 6 beers and I don't want to drive. Great, bus.
So yeah, let's see what the next one is. Sorry. I don't remember where this one was. This might have been an Instagram one from Ivy Kwok. It said, if you could design your own bus train line, what would you call it? Where would it go?
Oh, boy. Oh, boy.
I'll let you think about it if you want. Well, because I have my answer already. Well, first, I was thinking about, anyway, I'll just say, like, total fantasy would be an Anchorage to Santiago high-speed rail. But because now I looked that up on Google Maps, I was like, how long would it take to drive from Anchorage to Santiago? And it's 9.5 days of driving plus like a hike through the Darien Gap. So that's not super practical. But they're not going to build a cool Pacific Coast high-speed rail line anytime soon. But I also, and this is maybe slightly less impractical, but it goes back to what I was saying about wanting to go to the mountains, to the snow. I wish we had forest railways like they have in Japan and Taiwan, because there they have a lot of trains that go up into the mountains, into the forest, the cloud forests and stuff, where it's probably for logging, and then the tracks are still there, and then they repurposed it. So now they're these little slow, charming tourist trains that take you up mountains. I wish it were easier to get up into the mountains here, because I think like a lot of people come out here like me and think that we're going to be surfing all the time, but then end up hiking way more than we surf. I know you're the opposite because you live on the coast, but it's
I'm a sea mammal.
I just want to go in those mountains all the time. And if you built a train along the San Gabriel Canyon Road and the Angeles Crest Scenic Byway, that could connect to Cold Brook, Falling Springs, Crystal Lake, Big Pines, and Wrightwood, which are places that mean something to people that spend any time in the San Gabriel Mountains that don't hate the mountains. There are all these little towns and campgrounds up there. And if you try to go up there now, like the last time I tried to go to Wrightwood, it's just a 2-lane highway. The only way to get up there is in a car. And it is crawling. It is so slow. And you have to leave so early in the morning. And by the time we got up there to the ski resort, they had rented out all of their, they didn't have any poles left to rent. And I was with the first time skiers. So I was like, well, then that was a big whiff, So it would have been nice if we could have taken a train up there and not spent our whole day in traffic and then driving all the way back.
There is part of the Amtrak Starlight that goes through a forest coming out of San Jose. It's probably about maybe about an hour of the trip when you're going south towards Los Angeles, where you're going straight through forest. Then you hit a strip mine. Then you go back into forest, and then you hit the vernal pools after that.
Does it stop somewhere in the forest though, so that you have a little forest getaway?
I don't. It probably does somewhere, but I was just all zenned out painting and reading fairy smut and just absolutely enjoying my 8-hour train ride on my day off. So I don't really remember.
Okay, I got 2 more fantasy train lines. Okay. 10-mile South Bay K-line extension from Torrance to Long Beach along an existing right-of-way. There's an existing and abandoned right-of-way already there that you could just slap a train on that would go from Old Town Torrance, which is great. Old Town Torrance, if you haven't. Torrance is the biggest city in Los Angeles County that doesn't even have an inch of transit rail through it. Oh, and wow. That's totally not coincidental because that's where Honda is and there's oil refineries. But it was built by Jared Torrance, who was a Pacific Electric Railway man, as a streetcar suburb. So it's kind of ironic that it's become this total car-brained place. But yeah, the Chen Art Gallery is there. California Live Steamers, which is like a little tiny, they're not model trains. Don't call them that. The live steamer crowd will get mad if you call them. They're real trains. They're just tiny trains. Oh. There's the California Live Steamers have their little train track there. And then it would go through Harbor City and Carson and Wilmington and get you to the A-line in downtown Long Beach. I think that would be a great one. And my final one, a BRT along Pacific Coast Highway or Valley Boulevard in the San Gabriel Valley.
Yeah, I guess for me it's less of a dream line, and I just want to see all of the projects that are currently in progress
get done tomorrow.
Yes, rapidly accelerated.
Yeah.
Assuming that everything stays on track and the way things are now, by 2050, we'll have a bitchin' system. The C line, extend the C line north up into Santa Monica, extend the D line out to the sea, do the BRTs from Pasadena over, do the Vermont BRT.
We really do have a lot of stuff under construction
K
and
line
in the planning
north
phases right now. That
Sepulveda line
just done.
Yeah. So when or the San Fernando North Rail extension too. You get all of these things done and in place. LA's going to be such a great place for it, and I just want it done now and not 25 years from now.
Let's see. I'm just going. In the interest of time,
there's one that I really wanted to answer.
3 more. Okay, it's probably. I think you saw them all. I believe so. Onion Lover 45 says, emergency evacuation tips for carless folks, especially with pets. I think a lot of people saw the footage of the cars in the Pacific Palisades that were abandoned and that the fire department was trying to bulldoze out of the way so that they could put out the fires. Yeah. Obviously, that's not a great solution. Yeah. And I don't know how effective that was. It didn't seem like they were able to get very many cars off the road. You know, I'm not an expert on emergency response, and like this honestly is one of the things that goes through my mind a lot because Alan does have my cat again. He has a lot more ongoing health things, and I'm pretty sure you can take a cat in a carrier on on Uber or Lyft now. But and I wonder if they would let you do that on Metro in an emergency. I would hope so.
Yeah.
Or if you had a dog on a leash or something.
I don't think anyone's. I mean,
maybe the messaging could get out if that is the case.
I've been on Metro and I have I have had Rottweilers sit next to me.
I'm just saying specifically in an emergency situation where they waive fares and all this stuff, and they're trying to shuttle people out. Yeah. But again, this is something where I would like to hear from people who evacuated with the fires and the animals. I know one of my coworkers was not able to get his animals evacuated from Altadena, so
oh my God.
They burned alive.
Oh my God.
So, and yeah, it's horrible, but yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, totally sucks. And like, I would not want to.
It's like what happened? They wouldn't take them at a shelter or something like that, or
they were more like farm animals, so it was just.
Oh, I see.
Like, I think they just were like, let's just get out of here. I don't know. I honestly haven't pushed him that much about it because I don't really want to. Yeah, you have to, but having to make those thoughts about like which animals do we save.
Yeah, I guess there is a big difference though between a cow and a house
cat. Or I don't know, chickens or goats or just but yeah, it's rough. Severin Martinez led a bike ride along the old route of the California Cycleway, by the way, and was the one that kind of got me to write my piece about the California Cycleway, and he did a lot of the research on it himself. He said, what bus or train experience would you take someone on to give them a good first impression of transit in Los Angeles? I have often said that the A line between Memorial Park in Pasadena and downtown Los Angeles is one of the nicest and most scenic.
This might double up to the other question that is about what is your favorite arts entertainment destinations to go to on Metro. I often do when I'm taking friends who are from out of town into LA, or if I want to go on a solipsism date with myself, I'll take the E-line into downtown, and depending on how I plat out the day, I'll usually get off at historic Broadway or the Grand Ave station, go to the Broad, go to a museum, right? Drink in all of the art. Then I'll walk down to Grand Central Market, get lunch. Then I'll walk over to the last bookstore, get some books, hop on a train over to Little Tokyo, maybe get some noodles for dinner, and then get a beer at Angel City Brewery. And it is just like the most relaxing, like, it feels like an urbanist kind of day too. And if I really want to be a geek, I'll go to the library for a while. But, just like to walk and wander around, eat all the good food, eat all the good things, and, just do that.
My answer is the E-line.
Hey!
What I said is I would do the E-line and I would bring a bike. And I would actually start at the other end. I would start at El Mercadito in Boyle Heights and have breakfast there, which if you've never been to El Mercadito, you got to go. They do have a night market too, but it's just a special... It's just one of those, I don't know, like, I don't know what other word to call them except for like sort of Disneyfied, like it's just this like little fantasy place with restaurants and shops inside, and it's like a 4-story swap meet with, it's just live music. It's great. So I would say start there with breakfast, and then depending on who your showings, mood, age, or interests, you have options, but I would say try to spend some time around Mariachi Plaza, Little Tokyo, Grand Avenue, Bunker Hill, Mocha, Broad, the Music Center. You got to go on the roof of the Walt Disney Concert Hall. There's a semi-secret garden up there that's great. Go to USC, Exposition Park. There's all the stuff around there. The Natural History Museum, the Science Center, the Rose Garden. And then I would probably ride on to Palms, Culver City, and go to the Center for Land Use Interpretation and or the Museum of Jurassic Technology. And then it's a little bit away from the station, but that's why you brought your bike, so you can go have lunch at Simpang Asia or get a drink at Irish Times and go to Bergamot Station. And then finally you end on my trip along the E-line at Santa Monica at the pier, take in the view, get some drinks and dinner at Ye Old King's Head. use the bathroom before you get back on the train because it's a long ride back. And there's no bathrooms till you get to Union Station.
There's one at the Expo Crenshaw station now.
Okay,
on the K-line
cool.
side. There's a throne
Nice.
set up outside there.
Yeah, there you go.
2
Good
days
to
ago.
know because I got off and went in a doorway when I did this trip basically because
I also want to I want to add to my E-Line downtown adventure. With the new regional connector stations, you're also within walking distance of the Redwood Club, which a lot of local indie bands play at. My swim coach, Will, plays there quite regularly. And the Smell, which is also in DTLA, which is a venerable DIY punk venue that very much lives up to its name.
Yes.
And again, in all of this, you can just walk to it from metro stops. It's all super
Redwood
close.
is the sort of pirate themed, like it's the bar where the LA Times staff used to hang out, I believe, because it's close to the old Times building.
Yeah.
And the Smell's been there for a minute. Yeah, good. Oh, so yeah, the E-Line.
The E stands for entertainment.
It's E. It should be E exclamation point. The E-Line. Michael Carrick wrote, "What is your favorite place / activity to go to or do that is easily accessible from the metro? Mine is attending LAFC games via the Expo line." And then he had a two-part, right? And then what upcoming project and activity, D-Line, K-Line, S-Line, etc., are you most excited about? Mine is taking the D-Line to LACMA / the Tar Pits.
I would say I'm really excited for the Sepulveda line to get just up and running. I have so many friends who work in production that live in the San Fernando Valley, or not the valley, but like, Sherman Oaks, Reseda, up that way. And it's such a pain to get there now.
Is that but when he said S-Line, I wasn't actually sure if that's what he meant because there's the East San Fernando Valley Light Rail Project and I don't think it has a letter assigned to it.
I don't think any of them have yet.
But that would go by Wat Tai and to the city of San Fernando, which the city of San Fernando itself is very charming and walkable. So that would be something I would look forward to. But there's also the Metro West Santa Ana Transit Corridor, which I was like, I don't think that's going to be the S-Line either. But that's the one that goes to Little India, which like a lot of enclaves would be radically improved if it was more walkable and had more access and fewer parking spots.
And so now we have the final question, right?
Oh, wait. So there's the C. Okay. So he said that, just to go back to what he said. So my favorite place activity to go that's accessible to the metro, I would say I had a bunch, like, because that's my way. Arts District, Chinatown, Claremont, Leimert Park Village, Lincoln Heights, Little Ethiopia, Little Osaka, Little Tokyo, the Miracle Mile, Koreatown, Pasadena, San Pedro, USC, and UCLA campuses, because it's honestly everywhere in Los Angeles except for those mountains is easily accessible by metro. Yeah. And then what project D-Line, K-Line, and S-Line? I'm excited about the D-Line from Miracle Mile to UCLA. Royce Hall is somewhere that I would go to more often if I could get over there more easily. The K-Line to Torrance, when that gap gets because you've been on the K-Line, I have not. Now that the LAX People Mover is still under construction. I know it doesn't stop there, but it doesn't go all the way down to the Green Line, whatever the Green Line is now, right?
Right. So right now, there is probably about a mile or two gap between the two of them. So you have the southern extension that is like the end of the C line that goes down to Redondo,
right, up
to I think LAX. I think it's Century, right? In Aviation Century.
Yeah. I think
then the next station, there's the LAX Metro Center station, which is not open right now. And then above that, you have Veterans Westchester Veterans it goes. And that goes up to Expo Crenshaw. So right now, if you go to the one terminus of the line, you can take a shuttle to the other side. I did not do that because where I got off of the BBB was near the station, and I got off the Big Blue bus near LAX at Aviation Century, and I walked to this barfy car dealership that was right by the Westchester Veterans Station. So I don't know how the shuttle experience is. Well, my plan, though, was I was going to take the Big Blue Bus 3 to LAX, get off at LA, like at the airport, get on the airport shuttle over to the aviation Century station or the aviation Westchester station, and then walk from there. But I just wound up taking the bus all the way to the end and walking from there.
So as the K line gets completed, it'll be that. Yeah. I would look forward to that, and I will look forward to that being extended down to Torrance, because I really do like Torrance. I just wish it were more transitable.
Yeah, the K line, the part that I took, it was pretty sunny, pretty scenic. I really liked the last 3 stations moving north were all underground. So like you just fly through those, which I think is such a smart configuration for our light rail.
That reminds me, maybe I will be taking the K-Line, because the Pan-African Film Festival starts in February, and I try to go to that every year. And it has moved around to different venues in the past, but it's usually at the Baldwin Hills Crenshaw Plaza, whatever. I don't know if that's the proper name of that mall, but it is something to check out. And yeah, if I'll take the K-Line if it's there. Should we go to the last question? Is that the Bike Talk one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bike Talk asked, one question we asked ourselves is how to appeal to conservatives for support of non-car transportation, non-car like bikes, but could be public transit, slowing cars down, or removing parking.
Okay, can I monologue?
Yeah,
permission to monologue.
Yeah.
Okay. So I want to like maybe preface my answer to this by saying, that I grew up in a very purple state in a very red purple town. And I have been like the lone atheist in my family, the lone Vespa user in all of northeastern Pennsylvania. Mm-hmm. So this is something that I've been tackling with my entire life, being someone that doesn't conform to conservative expectations, but also still having a lot of people in my life that, like my family, like my friends from back home, that are very conservative, who we care about each other deeply, even if we don't align on all of our political issues, Like I have not been fortunate enough to be able to silo myself completely. And I think that's probably a good thing for democracy. Earlier this year, and I promise this will connect, I had been struggling trying to reconcile some of my more deeply held convictions with other people that maybe we mostly align political, but we don't line up on, 1 or 2 issues, right? And maybe, because I was like raised Catholic and, our priests wanted to like recruit me to the clergy. They was really big on like, this is right and this is wrong. And I think I still have like a strong instinct for that kind of stuff that I kind of have to fight a little bit to blunt the influence of that. But I found that I asked my friend my friend Nam, who's a yoga teacher in San Diego, and a lot of his students, San Diego is also a very purple city. Like you can't exist there without running into some Republicans or some, Trumpy folks or, whatever. And I asked him, how he approaches having to work with a client or having to work with a student or having to teach a student because he does yoga teacher trainings whose beliefs you are adamantly opposed to. And Nam's advice that I found that was so helpful is that first and foremost, he tries to have a relationship with the person he's teaching, with people he's interacting with. Like he has to care about his students as people outside of their political beliefs. And that like just summed up so well what I experienced with my family and friends. I care about you apart from who you voted for. Mm-hmm. The way that I extrapolate out from that is in sustainability, we have a lot of people that are like RFK Republicans or like anti-vax leftists and Democrats and the rest of that. With a lot of those people and evangelical Christians too, I try to find what are the things that we can agree on that we can work together on. We don't have to agree on everything, right. But if we find one thing...
We don't have to make everything our mission.
Yeah. Not everything has to be our mission, but what can we work together on? Mm-hmm. And I've had so many good friendships spring out from that, right? When it comes to biking, transit, and car-free, car-light living, mm-hmm. I like to frame it as hanging out. In that, when I want to introduce my friends to something that, who are very much like, you got to get a car, you're being irresponsible, blah, blah, blah. My favorite way to hang out is to do an activity with someone. Let's go to a climbing gym. Let's go for a bike ride. Let's go blah, 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 right? I want to share an experience that is like deeply fun and is a big, 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 big part of my world with my friends that it might not be something they're into or used to. So for a bike ride, just ask my friends like, hey, do you want to go to the Venice Light Parade? I'll show you how to one wheel today. Like, hey, do you want to try out this new thing, this whatever thing that I do that is new to you? That is really, really fun. Like, let's just go hang out and do it. And I find that people tend to be very receptive to that because I'm not trying to say like, oh, hey, you need to like throw away your car. You need to do any of this. Right. But just let's go have a fun afternoon.
On your terms, though, kind of. Like, no, I think that's good. Yeah. Like, hey, do you want to walk with me to this thing? Like, oh, yeah.
Yeah. Like, of course, I will go over their place and, have a couple beers and watch Cobra Kai or whatever, But like with conservative folks and my family, and like gardening is huge for this with conservative folks too. With my grandfather, I like to go foraging and try to plant natives we find in the woods at his place. Usually they're amenable to that stuff. If you make it fun and if you make it like if you make transit and car-free stuff a space that your relationship can interact on, I think that's so much better than making it like, hey, did you know that like cars cost $13,000 a month and blah, 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 blah. Then like you just shut them down immediately. But yeah, relationship first.
I have arguments like that. I'm like, okay, if this were a debate or something, but I think that some of it, because you're not just trying to dunk on people, hopefully you're actually trying to persuade them, right?
Yeah.
So I like one serious one that I've said about like parking mandates, and I might not actually normally use this language myself, but parking mandates are big government telling mom and pop developers how many parking spots to make. Conservatives love saying, get big government off my back. You can still put in parking if you want. It's just saying give the developer the choice, not the government. So I think that's one that appeals to people. I think car dependency is kind of anti-freedom. It's kind of like indentured servitude. Why should you have to own this freedom machine to be able to participate in the city? And why can't a bike be a freedom machine? Because if you're a rugged individualist, it's more ruggedly individualistic to pedal a bike around than it is to buy a car that's branded with some other dude's name on it, like Henry Ford or Louis and Arthur Chevrolet or John Francis and Horace Elgin Dodge. Like, why are you advertising for those guys buying their products? Like, be your own man, build your own bike.
And how many job applications do you look at that say, oh, must have reliable transportation? Yeah. What are you fishing for there, sir?
Cars chew up our roads and require us to raise taxes to maintain them. The Department of Public Works, the Bureau of Engineering, Streets LA, and Department of Transportation. Do you want all these government agencies being funded with your taxes? No, then ride a bike because you won't be chewing up the road. Yeah. And also, if you want to be conservative in another sense, I mean, like I said earlier, people have boated and walked here for 13,000 years. First horses showed up in 1769. First train in 1869. The Los Angeles Daily Star reported in 1872 on bicycle mania, and then the first car shows up in 1897. So cars were really invaders of our streets. All those other things were here first, because conservatives like to frame things as invasions, Yeah. But then also, in all seriousness, the National Interstate and Defense Highways Act of 1956, that was a big government infrastructure boondoggle. You could try that argument. That was Eisenhower, though, who in some ways to me was maybe the last sane Republican. But even Eisenhower went on to say, this is from 1960, like 4 years after the Interstate and Defense Highways Act passed, that the matter of running interstate routes through the congested parts of the cities was entirely against his original concept and wishes. He never anticipated that the program would turn out this way. He was certainly not aware of any concept of using the program to build up an extensive and intra-city route network as part of the program he sponsored. So he wanted interstate highways, not intra-neighborhood. But what we have are freeways carving through neighborhoods. So you're going against the great Ike Eisenhower's the architect of the whole thing. It's not how he wanted it to be. And also, free parking is tax-subsidized socialism for cars. And if you don't like socialism, well, yeah. Yeah. So I think that's that. Should we wrap up? I have like a couple plugs, and then we only have a few minutes left, and then. But I also just wanted to, 10 years out of this, or 10 episodes into this, express gratitude to you for doing so much of the work. Gratitude to all the listeners. Sometimes it's hard to know. You do something like this. I mean, I was thinking about doing this podcast for years, and then you don't really know if people are listening. But a recent acquaintance I've made, Anusha Pratura, said that she listens to the podcast. So I was like, oh yay! She didn't say if she likes it, but she did say she listens. Phoebe Kirchhofer Garfinkel said, I love your podcast so much. I'm an Angelina who grew up here and never got my license, and I feel so seen. Tanya Ronhell said never had a car, and that she's never had a car, and says, I really love what you guys are doing. And Tanya and Malin, too, both suggested that we reach out to Kelsey Vanderberg, who's a car-free West Sider who has a big following on TikTok.
Well, Kelsey.
And I also just wanted to point out, though, that none of those people are mammals. They're not middle-aged men in Lycra, and that's what I thought we were going to have exclusively as an audience. And I don't have a problem with. I'm not trying to demonize anyone. I don't think we always need to find the bad guy and say, oh, it's the middle-aged white guy in Lycra. I just was afraid that was going to be 100% of the people that reached out, and that's none of the people that reached out. And so, yeah, I just wanted to say gratitude to all those people. I would like to hear people's responses to these questions, too. And then real quick, I'll do my plugs. February 4th is Transit Equity Day because Metrolink is free on that day because Rosa Parks, which just to go off on a little bit of a tangent, I think it's worth talking. It's interesting. Like, I'm not against free transit on Rosa Parks Day. We're planning on taking those trains. It's just I don't know. We can even edit this out if we want, but I do think that there's this whole thing about shifting. It's just got me thinking about like individual action versus collective response, and that I do think that this is no disrespect to Rosa Parks, but that the elevation of her as an individual is in part this country's way of saying, let's not focus on bus driver strikes. Let's focus on individual boycotts. But also, she wasn't the first person to boycott. William Saxon in 1951 wouldn't refuse to go to the back of the bus. There was a 15-year-old girl, Claudette Colvin, who before Rosa Parks refused to go to the back of the bus in Alabama and was thrown into an adult jail. And I think they don't tell that story because it's just less feel good. And Rosa Parks, they always present as this kind of like saintly grandmotherly type, even though she was only 42. They make it seem like, oh, she was just tired and she just didn't want to go to the back of the bus. Like it seems like the teeth have been removed from the action. You know what I mean? Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
It's a lot like how, MLK is.
Right. It's the Coca-Cola-fication of or McDonald's presents and it's like, shout out to people for doing individual actions, but also shout out to people for doing, for solidarity between workers is what I'm trying to say.
I want to drop in a quick addendum to my thoughts about interacting with conservatives. I have been incredibly fortunate to have friends and family that can say, I don't agree with your politics, but I love you anyway. Not everyone has that type of relationship. Not everyone is that self-actualized. I think it is also 1,000% okay to cut off people that are belligerent, that are harmful, that are hateful. As a counterexample to this, I had a family member reach out early during the fires and say that California is in God's crosshairs because we are welcoming to trans people and women, and said I had better get right with God. If God does not like women and trans people, I don't want to have anything to do with that God. And so, this relative is no longer in my life, and they will not be until they do some serious soul searching. So please take care of yourselves and hold appropriate boundaries when and where you need to. You come first. You can't do good work in the world if you're exhausted fighting assholes.
By the time this comes out, I will have been a guest or a subject, hopefully, on LA Times 404. And I'm going to be on In a Minute with Evan Levitt. So look for those by the time you're hearing this. I'm still doing the Silver Lake walks. And on Super Bowl Sunday, I'll be having Thanksgiving 2, which is my Super Bowl party without Super Bowl. We're going to play croquet in a park and eat pizza and do football stuff without football.
That's great. That's great. I guess for me, in terms of plugs, this is not related to anything at all here, but I did a little bit of an art retreat in the wilds a couple of weeks ago, and I finished up a lot of outstanding music projects. Not outstanding in that they're great, but outstanding in that they've been sitting on my hard drive in various states of incompletion for a while. So that will probably be listenable by the time this is out. It's sort of like my take on video game inspired electronic music.
Nice. Like chiptunes?
You'll get the vibe when you hear it.
Is there chip math? Math tunes?
I think I'm probably maybe like another year or two away from being able to play math rock properly, because like you have to have chops to do it, and I'm out of practice. But yeah, it's a lot of the video game inspiration was like, Mega Man, Final Fantasy, Castlevania soundtracks were a big inspiration.
Koji Kondo?
Yeah, definitely. And so I tried to, this was like my take on that, while also dealing with a lot of, this is what I'm feeling right now, but we're going to present it instrumentally. Much like realizing that I don't have to buy a car, it was also freeing working on this project to realize that if I don't have something burning to say, I don't need to say it. And you could just convey it with the notes. And when I do have things to say, I think it's comical and, stuff I needed to get off my chest, but that's few and far between, mercifully. And that is called Any Pizza is a Personal Pizza If You Believe in Yourself. If you have any comments or show ideas, the best way to get those to us is to DM us on Instagram. Our IG is Nobody Drives an LA Pod. I am there as Kyle Rebarf, and Eric is Eric Brightwell Official. We would love it if you'd leave us a review on Spotify, Apple, or wherever else you happen to be listening. I've heard that helps. It's truly been an honor riding the bus to AUA with you all. And I guess we're getting off at the next stop.